All right, let's dive into Liane Moriarty's new one. Here, one moment.
Oh, yeah?
We're going kind of deep with this, using her interview from the Atlantic Festival and the book description.
Cool.
So picture this. You're on a flight delayed, and someone pops up saying they know how everyone's gonna die.
It's like a setup for a thriller, right?
Total mind trip.
Like
We've all
the-
been there stuck on those planes just watching people.
Right.
But imagine if those people you're watching suddenly their fates were laid bare. Makes you think about life and death and choices we make.
Moriarty's really good at using these what-if scenarios to tap into our anxieties.
Totally. Like she's hitting those deep questions about fate and free will head on.
And it's not just made up.
Right.
Turns out she got the idea from being on a delayed flight herself.
Really?
Yep. Started imagining all those lives and deaths around her.
Wow. That's kind of spooky. It's like she's saying, hey, listener, this could be you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Makes it so much more personal, like you're right there with her.
Now she's pretty tight-lipped about this woman on the plane who predicts everything.
The death lady.
Yeah. We don't even get her name until like 100 pages in.
That's Moriarty for you, building the suspense.
But the book description hints at how people react. Some are freaked out, others are weirdly drawn in.
Makes sense.
Right.
It'd be a moral and philosophical dilemma for sure.
It really makes you think, what would you do? Would you want to know?
And even if you said no, wouldn't just the possibility change how you live each day?
Heavy stuff, for sure. That question of whether knowing your end diminishes or enhances the journey.
It becomes like this thread running through the whole book.
Totally. But here's something I found really cool about Moriarty's writing. She doesn't do those crazy outlines.
You'd think she'd have spreadsheets and timelines galore.
I know, right? But she starts with that core idea, like the Death Lady, and then lets the story flow naturally.
It's organic, you know?
She even joked about her husband thinking she's got all these spreadsheets and wishing she wrote faster so he could get a Maserati.
Like Marin Keyes supposedly did for her husband.
Hilarious. Right. Clearly he doesn't get how complex her stories are.
It's not just churning out words. It's about crafting a whole world.
And speaking of crafting, Moriarty tackles this big idea of determinism. Everything's predetermined, we're just playing out a script.
Kind of bleak, huh?
It is. But the interesting thing is she doesn't actually believe in strict determinism.
Oh, so it's more nuanced than that.
Yeah, it's like he's using it to explore how much agency we really have against these seemingly unstoppable forces.
So it's not about a set script, but how choices and circumstances play out together?
Exactly. And she even suggests that scientific advancements could change what seems like a fixed future.
Is that where the anecdote about the career paths comes in?
You got it. Remember that one? The young person choosing between two careers.
Yeah, one leads to a life-saving discovery changing those people's destinies.
It's subtle, but it suggests that even small decisions can ripple out and change things in ways we can't imagine.
The butterfly effect in action.
And it's not just theoretical. For her, Moriarty's own life experiences, especially her father's death, really shaped the book's emotional core.
She doesn't shy away from those personal touches.
Definitely. She even talked about butterflies appearing on the anniversary of his death like a sign.
And then, of course, her dog ate one of them.
Classic Moriarty. Right. Bringing in that humor, even when talking about something profound.
It's that blend of the serious and the lighthearted that makes her so relatable.
It's true. And it shows up in her characters, too. But let's talk more about them next time.
Sounds good. So you know how she writes kind of by the seat of her pants?
Yeah, it's wild, right? No elaborate plans, just that core idea.
But her characters are so well developed, it's almost like she's got their whole life story mapped out.
I know what you mean. It's like she really gets inside their heads.
Well, it turns out she's a master observer. She doesn't need backstories. She focuses on key traits and lets those develop naturally.
It's like giving them room to breathe, to become who they are meant to be on the page.
Exactly. And she even uses real people as inspiration, like Madeline from Big Little Lies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's based on two women Moriarty knew. One was perpetually outraged,
Huh. Sounds familiar.
and the other was this shimmery, sparkly girl.
It's amazing how she blended those two into such a complex character.
Talk about creative fusion.
Yeah.
And speaking of Big Little Lies,
Yeah.
she's actually writing a sequel.
No way. To the show.
To the book, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So there are going to be some differences.
Yeah. Like there's this character, Fred, who was in the book, but not the show.
And now she has to figure out how to bring him back into the story.
She even joked about making him a reclusive gamer, totally out of touch with the drama going on around him.
That's hilarious. I wonder what she'll actually do with him.
It'll be interesting to see how she navigates those differences between the book and the show.
Definitely. But before we get too sidetracked, let's talk about the research she did for Here One Moment.
Right. Because even though it deals with premonitions, she actually consulted a psychic.
Seriously.
Yeah, she's always up for exploring different avenues.
And I bet she has some funny stories about it.
Oh, absolutely. The psychic immediately pegged her as this middle-aged woman struggling with her purpose in life.
Oh man, I can just imagine her reaction.
And then when Moriarty said she was an author, the psychic told her to maybe try selling her books on eBay.
No way.
Yeah. And get this, at a recent book signing, someone actually gave her a first edition they got on eBay.
You can't make this stuff up. Life imitating art, imitating life.
It's crazy, right? Makes you wonder about fate a little bit.
No. But even with all that, Moriarty still seems to have that balance of curiosity and healthy skepticism.
She's open to the possibilities, but keeps her feet on the ground.
It's like her experience with the butterflies after her father's death. She started looking for them as a sign.
And then on the anniversary of his passing, 2 butterflies flew right at her, brushed against her cheeks.
Wow, powerful stuff.
And then her dog ate one.
Of course. Right back to reality.
But those moments of humor don't diminish the deeper questions she's asking.
Absolutely. In fact, they make them more relatable, more
Yeah.
human, you know? So let's come back to that big question. Would you want to know your fate?
The ultimate dilemma.
Moriarty said she thinks she'd want to know. But then she'd probably spend her time trying to change it, to defy what seems inevitable.
That makes sense. It's that human instinct to fight for survival, to cling to hope.
Even in the face of what seems like certain doom.
It's that tension between acceptance and defiance.
Yeah.
That's at the core of Here One Moment.
Moriarty doesn't give us easy answers. She makes us confront those big questions about fate and free will, and the choices we make, the ripples they create.
Right, like those real-life situations she talked about, people deciding whether to get genetic testing.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. Knowing if you have a gene for something serious.
It's the same dilemma as the plane passengers.
Yeah.
Do you want to know or not?
It really brings it home how these questions about fate and free will aren't just theoretical. They affect people's lives every day.
And Moriarty is so good at weaving those philosophical questions into real human stories.
It's not like she shies away from the heaviness of it all, but she finds a way to make it engaging.
She's got that humor and those insightful observations about people.
It's like she creates this space where we can explore these tough ideas without feeling lectured to.
You're right, it's thought-provoking, but in a way that feels relatable.
So she's basically encouraging us to look at our own beliefs and values.
And how they might influence our choices when we hit those inevitable forks in the road.
Exactly. So for anyone listening, if you're looking for a light read, this probably isn't it.
But if you want something that challenges you, makes you feel things, and leaves you thinking about life and death,
Then Here One Moment is definitely worth checking out.
and as you read it, think about that question. Would you want to know your future?
Even if you chose not to, could you really ignore the fact that knowing is even a possibility?
How would that change the way you live your life right now?
It's a question that stays with you long after you finish the book.
It makes you think about the choices you make every single day.
And whether you're really in control or just riding the wave.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Here One Moment.
And be sure to check out our next episode, where we'll be tackling another fascinating topic.
We'll see you then.